Talked to a variety of people over the last few months after launching this channel, launching a TikTok, creating a YouTube, coaching younger professionals that are trying to break into tech sales. And the things that people get wrong about tech sales, I'm going to simplify it. A lot of times people think salespeople are money hungry and commission driven. A lot of times those are very true, but you need to be cognizant that successful enterprise sellers, successful business professionals, people that are dealing with large transactions. Think about it. You're pitching companies. Think of your Apples. Think of the largest tech sales organizations that are buying software. Heck, even grocery stores. Everyone buys software. So it takes a village to sell an opportunity or sell a deal. From an SDR, BDR to finding that opportunity, to developing a discovery state with an account executive that's going in and uncovering issues, uncovering current state, problems that they're dealing with, things that eventually affect their bottom line, right? That's the problem that you locate within their tech stack could have an impact with finance. Human resources could be dealing with that when they're bringing people on board. Maybe there's a cultural shift happening at the organization. All of those things are intertwined, and the thing that people think when you go into sales, right? People think door-to-door sales, but you're working with a whole account team, from the SDR, the AE, the engineer that you're working with. You're working with the customer success manager. That's extremely important, because if your client isn't paying annually or agrees to that contract, well, then they churn, right? They won't renew their contract for the upcoming year or whenever their renewal is set to expire. All of those things are extremely important. So essentially what I'm saying is it takes a village to close a tech sales deal most of the time, 9 times out of the 10. Unless you're pitching to a startup, yes, it could be transactional, but most of the time it's very strategic. It's like an initiative, it's like a project that an architect would work on, or maybe a lawyer's working with a client on a big case, or through litigation practices or things like that. Tech sales is the same thing. It's just you're working with an organization, and a lot of times, another thing I wanted to talk about is that leads into my next point is you could work 10 months on a deal and the client ends up not choosing your firm in purchasing your software, which is a huge gut wrench and can be very hard to deal with, because you're forecasting this large opportunity within your pipeline, and then you basically get told, hey, it was nice knowing you, but we're going to go a different route. So being able to handle that type of rejection can take a toll on a lot of people. But if you have enough pipeline, you're doing the right things, you don't have to just rely on that one deal. So having that strong mindset is extremely important in this level of sales and just in business in general, right? You see that with a lot of entrepreneurs nowadays. If something doesn't work, they're quick to call an audible. They might gunsling it, but at the end of the day, they're always ready to make a shift at a moment's notice, right? So I think that's extremely important to know. Another thing is you're not getting paid these large sums of commission checks constantly. So financially, you have to be intact. You have to have a strong plan. Lifestyle creep is huge for a lot of tech sellers. A lot of people that I know, right? A lot of people like to live above their means. Being able to have enough saved up, let's say 9 to 15 months saved up, just in case something happens with the market. Companies are doing a lot of layoffs. You want to be able to have maybe even a side hustle, just to give you some increased confidence. And those types of things will carry over into the sales arena for you. But that's definitely something to be on the lookout for, and that nobody talks about in tech sales is like lifestyle creep. And that works for anybody that's in a high paying, or Henry is what I call it, high earner but not rich yet. Another thing you want to be cognizant of in tech sales is you might not have the best accounts when you walk in on day one, and that's okay. I think that's probably best. I think a lot of organizations, when you go in and you get handed the best accounts or maybe the best territory, by luck, right? Or by chance, maybe you have a relationship or so forth, that all makes sense. But essentially, it's a key lesson that everyone needs to learn. And people that are trying to break into tech sales is like, yes, it is a meritocracy. You get in what you put in, but a lot of times things aren't fair. Things might not work out. But you have to have your head intact, because if it's not intact, you will get exposed. You'll go through some dark times, and At the end of the day, I'm just looking out for the person on the other end of this screen and just letting them know that, hey, there are going to be times where you might get laid off. You might lose a top account to somebody else that came into the company. You might not get the best patch. It might not be the most fruitful patch, but you're developing all this work. You have to have the right mindset to be able to push through. And if you are able to push through, and if you've done the right things with your leadership, great leadership will notice that and hopefully reward you in the future, or if not already. Another thing to be cognizant of is there's other opportunities. When you break into tech sales and you get an SDR or BDR role, there's more than just one role to get promoted to. Essentially, you open yourself up to networking to other parts of the business. I've met a lot of people that have worked as an SDR, as a BDR alongside me, and they went the business analyst route, or they went to become a senior program manager working on different projects. They went on to become engineers or getting specific certifications within that tech stack. There's a lot of opportunities because you're rubbing shoulders with so many different people within the organization. Even if you're working remotely, you're still speaking occasionally to people in legal, people that are working on the operations side. They're always fine-tuning, trying to find ways to optimize what you're doing to essentially help the bottom line, help the process, help the strategy for the overall company. So there's a lot of areas. You go into human resources. Selling is extremely important. Everyone has to do a performance annual review, right? Essentially, you're selling yourself on why you're valuable to the organization, to the company, and so forth. That's another thing that tech sales, if you're able to break in, you'll get some exposure to that. And if you network the right way, you develop a good, strong political brand, those types of things will open up to you as well. Like, share, subscribe. DM me for any other questions, anything I might have missed, or comment below on anything you'd like to see in the future.